Hello class. So today we're going to find missing sides when the two figures are similar. Okay. This morning we talked about finding corresponding sides, and I told you that I find it easier to look at the two smallest, to the two shortest sides, in this case is 4 and 12, and use that to set up my proportion. Okay. All right. So I'm trying to write with my mouse, and I find it really difficult, but I'm sure I'll get better with more practice. So, anyways, so 4 is the small one, and I put that over 12. All right, and I'm setting it up as a proportion. Now I find two other corresponding sides. So 6 will go over x. Okay, and remember, the main thing is to line up 4 and 6 because they came from the same triangle, and 12 and x. Okay. You can also set it up with 12, 4 and x, 6. That should still work. But in this case, we're just going to keep it like this. And 12 times 6 is what we need to multiply because it's like cross multiplication. 12 times 6 equals 72. And like any proportion, we multiply 2 across, and then we divide it by the third number. So 72 divided by 4 gives you 18. Okay? So x must be 18. That means that this side right here is 18. Okay. Now, this is an easy way to do it. You will also learn to do it this way. I'm going to do it on this side right here. It's more algebraic. 12 times 6 equals 4 times x, or 4x. We started talking about it today like that, and I told you not to worry about it if you don't get it right away, but later you will. 12 times 6 is 72, okay. And 72 equals 4x. That means 4 times whatever x is. Okay. And since we already knew that it's 18, we know that 4 times 18 gives you 72. But if we didn't know, we would divide it by 4, just like in the proportion part. We divide it by 4 to get rid of this 4. And now you can tell that x equals 72 divided by 4, which gives you 18. Okay. Now, an easier way, when numbers are so easy like the two that we're dealing with right here, I can also think of it as equivalent fractions. And look, what times 4 gives me 12? Well, 4 times 3 gives me 12. Okay. So since I know that they're similar, if 4 times 3 equals 12, then 6 times 3 will also equal what x is. And 6 times 3 equals 18. So that works out. Now, the 3 right here, we're going to learn more about it later. It's called the scale factor. So when we multiply this by the scale factor of 3, we get this right here. So that's another way to find out. And I know you probably find this way easier, but sometimes the numbers are not that friendly. So we need to understand how to set up the proportion. Okay, for the next problem, I would like you to pause the recording. Okay. Do it yourself, and then come back and check what you did with what I did. Okay. Okay, welcome back. So now, again, we try to find corresponding sides. Okay. And it looks like B is the small one, and B corresponds to 24. and then the other two would be 5. 5 corresponds to 30. Okay, so let's set up the proportion. I'm gonna go ahead and put b first over 24, and it's a proportion, and since b and 5 come from the same figure, same polygon, I make sure I line them up, and 5 over 30. Okay. Now, like I keep telling you, if you can simplify ratios, it's a lot easier to work with. Okay. But if you don't see that right away, I'm going to go ahead and do it, you know, just like a proportion without simplifying. So 5 times 24 is 120. So just like a proportion, we multiply across and we divide it by that third number, and it should give us what b is. Okay. So 24 times 5 is 120, and 120 divided by 30, it's actually 4. And I know I'm doing a little bit of mental math, so if you're not able to do it like that, just do it on the side. But right now, trust me, 120 divided by 30 is 4. That's the way that we need to learn to do it. Now, if you can go a little bit further and set it up as an equation, algebraic. So that means that 5 times 24 will give you 30 times whatever b is. So, okay. So 5 times 24 is 120. And 120 equals 30b. Okay. And like I told you for the previous problem, so to get rid of 30, we need to divide it by 30. Okay. And hopefully by now you're seeing the connection. This cancels out, and 120 divided by 30 gives us 4. Okay. All right. So 4 equals b. Now, going back to this and thinking of the scale factor, which, if you're getting it by now, it's great, more power to you, but if not, it's okay. We'll learn more about it later. Let's see, what times 5 gives me 30? 5 times 6 gives me 30. Okay. And what times b gives me, I'm sorry, 5 times 6 gives me 30, so that same 6, which is the scale factor, I multiply times b. So b times 6 gives me 24. So what does b have to be? So I know that sounds weird, but 4 times 6 is 24, so b has to be 4. Okay? So that's another way. Now again, for the next problem, I would like you to do it on your own. Okay. Pause it, do it, and then come back. Okay. So go ahead and pause me right now, do it, and come back. All right, welcome back. Now this one looks a little bit more complicated. We have been told that they're similar. So we have to trust that they say they're similar. So we just now have to find what the corresponding sides are. Okay. Again, like I told you before, an easy way to do it is to look for the smaller sides. And this is 4 right here. That's the smallest side. And this should be the smaller side right here. So these guys correspond to each other. So I can put the 4 over the A. Okay. That's A. Okay. That's going to equal to whatever other corresponding sides I see. Okay. So look, I see that this is the longest side. It's obvious. So I'm going to look for the longest side right here. So this side right here corresponds to this side. So that blank corresponds to 10. Okay. I'm not going to use that because I don't have, I'm missing this also, so I don't have to use that one. So obviously these guys are the middle ones, or the medium. Okay. So look, 7 corresponds to 14. Okay. So 7 goes here, and 14 goes on the bottom. Now some of you might already see what A is just by looking at that proportion. But if you do not see it, no big deal. Again, it would help to simplify that. If I simplify this, it should give me 1/2. That gives you an understanding as to what A would be. But again, if you do not see it, we're going to cross multiply. Okay. 4 times 14 gives me the same as 7 times A. Okay. Now 4 times 14, if I cannot do it in my head, I'm going to go ahead and do it on the side. 4 times 14. Okay. So 4 times 4 is 16. I carry the 1. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So that's 56. So 4 times 14 is 56. Okay. Just like any other proportion, you multiply across, you divide by that third number. Okay. So 56 divided by 7. Okay. Hopefully you're good with your multiplication facts, and you're asking yourself right here, what times 7 gives me 56? And you have it, it's 8. 8 times 7 is 56. So A equals 8. Okay. Now look, what I was saying earlier is that if you look at the 7 and the 14, if I simplify it, that gives me 1/2. Okay. It makes sense because 7 is half of 14. So what's 4 half of? 4 is half of 8. So that also makes sense for A to be 8. Okay. See, 7 times 2 gives me 14. So 4 times 2 gives me 8. So A has to be 8. All right, guys. Please go ahead and work on the 2 other problems that I gave you. And tomorrow we'll discuss more about this. Hopefully, if you have any questions, bring them to class tomorrow. All right. Thank you, guys. Goodbye.